Welcome back to Exalted 3rd Edition Dragonblood's Crimes of Nature. Last time, a whole lot of really heavy conversation happened regarding justice systems, how to treat people, how otherwise the situation with the revanchists in the Fallen River Valley should be dealt with, and otherwise have the discussions of the current ideas that were being had, and maybe they could be adjusted a little bit. And Sun Guangyong came in for discussion of all of that sort of stuff, and a lot of really important information was hashed out. And at this point, the ongoing settled idea has been settled on how to deal with the prisoners in the Trident River Valley in a equitable but suitably, reparation focused, but, also not blind manner. And there, the only immediate thing on the ledger before a few days from now was the promised meeting with Sybil and Guan to catch up with the two of them and also have the conversations that several people have been wanting to have with them for a while. So, currently, let me double check the calendar to see exactly when it would be. It is Descending Earth 5th, so a couple of days before the incident. And the meeting with Sun and Guan, Guan and Sybil, Sun had mentioned that they have a camp shortly outside of town that they would prefer to meet you at, just out of an interest of not wanting people to listen in. Because they figured that it's probably going to be topics that they would prefer to not have the risk of people overhearing.
After getting cleaned back up, Repose will have dropped off the now appropriately sanity checked and sanitized proposals for what is to be done, and with that have formally handed the issue over to the city elders. And will be greatly relieved and back with the crew, ready to go walk about into business.
So yeah, they basically said whenever y'all are ready, or who wants to ever come down. We're about a half mile down the river outside of the city gates by a campsite. If y'all want to come down, and feel free to come down anytime. We're gonna be just doing a rest day for the day. So if you have any other business before that, you can take care of that.
Not really.
Obsidian scene would happen without everyone else because he did.
He would want to go. He would want to see them in private first.
Yes,
because I knew multiple people did want to discuss with them, but I didn't know in what order or in private or in public. So
Obsidian expressly would have went out and saw them as
then he would have. They would have invited you out to be.
So we can say he goes on ahead.
All right, just give me a second to finish setting up the little tableau map. So as you are on the way down, it is fairly kind of bustling, but not overly busy. Kind of a normal day on the river. There's a bit of trade going back and forth across. There are some flatboats on, driven by pole. There's a couple with small sails going up and down. It is less a trade artery river in terms of a large sense. It's more, this is, it's the highway of the area. People are going up and down it for transit or to carry small amounts of cargo and things like that. And as you approach the campsite, you notice a couple of things in the distance. One is the enormous prone laying down figure of the Yedim the two of them have in their caravan. Looks like that a lot of the attendant cargo has been taken off of her temporarily, just to give her back a rest as while she is resting. So it seems to just be down on the ground taking what is probably a very well-deserved nap, considering how much stuff that thing usually carries. Um, Otherwise, there is a small tent set up by the riverside, campfire going, and otherwise just kind of looks like any given temporary sit down and have a day of rest sort of campsite. So,
Obsidian would approach. Is the tent flap closed or open? I assume closed.
As you get close, you can see both of them outside, but the tent flap is closed. So let me just shift over to the map just to give an idea of what's the situation. Sun is sitting out in front of the tent flap. Looks like he's maybe dicing up some food, or he's processing something with a knife. You can't, until you get closer, see what's going on. While Sybil is a little bit away further from the fire, just kind of leaning back in a kind of a improvised chair seat. One arm draped over her eyes by the elbow and just asleep.
Very simple greeting, just a wave. Afternoon.
Obsidian Shield, welcome aboard. The Sun says, as Sybil just kind of gives a little bit of a and then kind of moves her arm, rubs her eyes, and then when seeing you gives a smile. Oh, hi! Yeah, that was today, wasn't it? Okay. The Dutch scale is probably more like this, so.
First of all, thank you both for coming out on short notice.
Fine, we were around here anyway. It's just a kind of shrug from Sybil in respect to that as well.
I actually called you both out here to expressly request something of you, Sybil.
Hey?
And yes. Obsidian would kind of look around, look at the tent. Maybe we should, just in case of prying eyes.
Sure, alright. Sybil says, while Swan is so much more understanding and just kind of stands up, cricks his neck a little bit, sheathes the knife, puts away what looks like a little small wood carving he was just fiddling with, and opens the tent and just slides on inside. The inside of the tent is very simple. It has a pair of bedrolls. One of them is currently rolled down, and a small desk. It looks like most of the supplies, I haven't drawn them on the map, but they are like scattered in a gigantic pile around Burgess, is where most of their supplies and kit are currently located. The inside of the tent is just, this is our place for shelter from the elements and, retreat. So, not too fancy in here.
So, first things first. Obviously, due to the letter I sent you a number of months back, you have some idea of who I am.
Sybil just kind of gives a nod. I had a feeling to begin with, but, yeah.
Yes, yeah. More specifically, in case you are not aware, I am the exiled son of Catholic Kargath? Kargath, yeah.
Sybil kind of gives a visible blink of, I'm sure that means something, but I don't know it. And Sun Guanyung has a kind of flicker across the eyes of, oh. But then just is still maintaining a relatively even face.
The long and short of it is, my father was a commander in the army, myself under him. We had a, to put it lightly, disagreement. And I am out here now. However, as you're aware, myself and my brothers returned to the Isles recently.
And
I, personally, tried to keep my presence unknown. However,
you can see a brief moment of Guan's eyes flicking up and down. Like, not even in terms of, like, looking you up and down, just more visually measuring your height with his eyes in response to that.
Holds up a hand. I have not been on the Isle for 15 years. A. B. It's easy to keep your presence unknown when you never leave the boat.
True.
Irregardless. Eventually I did, though with a very rudimentary disguise. Full mask covering the face.
It was better than that.
Well,
This is Obsidian telling this.
I do consider
I know,
at,
sorry,
this
character.
at this fact retroactively, I have a -3 on stealth rolls.
Mhm.
Of just in big.
From parts unknown, the man from out of town kind of disguise.
The long and short of it is Milan wanted to propose a questionable idea to Parliament, and I feared for his safety.
Fine,
So-
questionable, Sybil says, actually kind of leaning in and looking a little interested.
Both in and out of character, I don't remember the exact detail. Like, not
That's
not
fine.
in character, out of character, I don't remember the exact
Out of-
details,
out
but
of
in character, I'd be able to give
The general.
give a general.
She's
Out of-
just kind of nodding along, looking kind of like, just kind of has that little jaw set a little bit forward, lips still closed, just like, oh, okay, sounds impressive.
And yeah, out of character, Bradway, what is like the brief summary of it?
It was to create a infrastructure project right on the Nellens-Ladal border.
Yeah,
To-
the tension border.
Yeah, the tension border, to dissuade any fighting.
Okay.
Specifically invoking a couple of complicated political stuff.
Right. Sorry, I was leaning over. He, for rightful reasons, is concerned about the oncoming civil war, as it will involve his close family. All
Both of
reasons
them,
that
both.
I 100% can understand.
Both of them just kind of give a nod at that. They seem to be already fully aware of what's going to happen.
However, I don't know the correct way to deal with that. I leave that to him, though I can see a problem where it's going to start. Anyway, long story short, under disguise, went as a bodyguard. Unfortunately, to my lack of knowledge, hey, you remember the, is it Madeir was the battle?
Mishaka, I believe, was the name of
Nashaka.
that.
Okay. You remember the incident at Nashaka?
Both of them pull a face. Sybil's is just kind of like, oh, yeah. And Kwan is just the face of, oh, I don't like where this is going.
That was days after I was exiled.
And let me guess, Kwan says, he was one of the officers.
Correct. So, unbeknownst to me, he had been promoted to Parliament.
Wait, they promote people like that? I'll explain it later, Sybil.
So I was found out and had to, through my own, the details of it would be a very long story, but eventually the only way out was to challenge my father to a duel.
That makes Sybil's eyes light up immediately.
I'll give you the details later.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll appreciate that. All I need to know is, well, you clearly won if you're here. How'd it feel? Guan just kind of gives her a side eye before looking over at Obsidian. Just kind of a silent moment of, do you need me to intervene on this?
It's just a thought of like, it's complicated. The more complicated aspect of this was the conversation I had with him directly preceding the duel. At which point he called out each and every one of my hearth members and associate for their own idiosyncrasies, secrets.
Things he shouldn't have known, Juan says.
He knows that old man is what he is.
Of the two of them, Sybil actually pulls a very dark face at that for a moment.
At this point, Obsidian pulls out the vial. The only evidence we have is this. It's ash. I don't know how much of it is what it originally was, but he received a letter, and we don't know when he got the letter, but it was burnt almost moments before the duel. Me and my own are not capable of any feats of this extent, but
Sybil, in the middle of your sentence, just holds out her hand.
I hand it to Sybil.
Could have skipped to the chase on that one a little bit. She says, not dismissively, just kind of like popping the cork and is immediately just kind of going into a mental work mode as Sun steps back a little bit and watches and glances over to Obsidian. Do you have any other potential leads without this letter? Any idea of where he might have gotten the information?
Does Obsidian personally? Because I don't think Obsidian personally does.
The discussion with the Hearth had a couple of ideas, but nothing too solid.
Milan brought up working under the assumption
Oh,
of
right.
Ruby Purple.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Obsidian had the blue screen of death moment where he was afraid he was working with Ruby Gauntlet Tyrant.
Yeah. There are... So... The out. The thing that we got him accused of that actually let us get off the island is he somehow recruited a rogue god to try and deal with myself and Old Man, because the one way that you can truly deal with Old Man is to get a god on his case.
Makes sense, Sybil says flatly, while Sun is just clearly has started to retreat into analyzing the situation.
The thing is he's a disgraced military man. I don't know where he would have gotten the pool for a god.
He wouldn't have, Sun immediately says.
Exactly.
Unless he had a lot of bureaucratic pull to begin with, and from your brief description and my vague memories of the general caliber of those who were in Nashaka, I doubt that they would have an off-the-license god on their beck and call.
The only idea that me and my brothers have right now is that one of the people that we have pissed off out here has that much of a pool.
So 2 rolls need to happen right about now.
Cool.
One, actually, when you are saying that, there is a brief shimmer, and there is just the faintest flicker of a kind of a corona of light, or like you would see around the new moon, on the surface of his forehead as he closes his eyes and thinks deeply. And first of all, let's see. I'll just put it like this. Sybil shakes out the ashes into her palm and actually begins to just kind of claps her hands together and begins to rub them in a circle together, smearing the ashes all over her hands. And for a moment, you're worried that this is, well, there goes the ashes. It's completely destroyed. It's all smeared again. Wait, hang on. That's paper. How is she rolling paper back together? What? as she's just kind of rubbing her hands faster and faster, like she's trying to warm up on a cold day, as the paper is extruding itself back out from the kind of smear of ash on her hands. Just kind of rolling it out over and over. And I am entertained by people thinking, but he's not a changing moon? Yeah, no, his thing is that he's stealthy and defies expectation. Guan opens his eyes afterwards as she is working on this piece of paper. Underworld resources wouldn't have had time to get to them without a whole lot of transit and a whole lot of ability to move a lot of space and a lot of time and a lot of sorcerers backup. There is an Ephraim involved in this situation. I don't believe Tyrant himself has direct access to any sort of sorcery or long-distance communication that would not go through a Death Lord. And I question the motivation of a Death Lord to pull realm politics into this. The Mask might be that bold, but even he would have his limits, and the Weaver would have absolutely no interest in that whatsoever. So beyond that, let's see. Let's just temporarily rule out Tyrant at the moment as we think about that, as we would be encountering too many logistic blocks. Could be our friend from above. That would explain the involvement of the god, that would explain the secrecy, that would explain the diversions. But the motive still remains questionable as to why, especially because the Realm's Isle is a rather dense location of their colleagues that may or may not be interested in whatever they're doing. And just glances over to Sybil. There is still the possibility of what's managing this diabolical intrusion in the region having reached out, but I would file that aside, as that there would be much more overt evidence of some sort of demonic intrusion that the entire Immaculate Order of the Isle probably would have jumped on the moment they smelled it. So, gut instincts say that it is likely that you have someone in heaven that has personally gotten your aid in it. Which is not something I like to say, but there we are. Meanwhile, Sybil, well, you go on if you had something to say.
No, just sort of reaction to that of scratches the back of his head. My gut was leaning that way, and it was what I was hoping would be false.
Don't worry too much about it, Sybil says as she finishes wrapping up the paper, starting to clean off the dust of it as the paper's ink is beginning to show again. I mean, Juan and I have been on the run from heaven for how long now? And give a read intentions for a moment. That is not a how long, and I don't remember. This is, am I allowed to mention the real number? And then Guan immediately gives a look of no. No, you were not. And then she just kind of shrugs of, well, we've been going for a while, and we're still here. Y'all are pretty resourceful folks. You'll be fine. Anyway. There we go. Here's the letter. Kind of starts skimming it, and her brow begins to furrow. Go on, I think you were right. Hands it over to Obsidian.
All right, lay it out.
I don't have the exact letter text laid out on this one because it is... The exact wording of this one is not important. I will say that it is very terse, to the point, and direct instructions. There is a brief summary of each of you, a rough and actually kind of inaccurate timetable of when you would be arriving to the Isles. It's about a week and a half off. And a general description of each of you, physically and in terms of reasons the realm would have to impound them, and suggested strategies for getting you into compromising situations where you could be imprisoned. For that, it is primarily focused on the fact that Obsidian Shield is an technically illegal exile of the realm, that Milan has generally questionable ties to the other houses and could be pressed on that, and that Old Man is, if you get the temple mad at them, they're just going to kick the door down.
What about for Spanner?
Spanner is okay. There is one thing about Yang, and all it says is being SLC, and Angler is just how would I put this? Angler specifically mentions complicated family ties to Nellens. Use as you see fit.
Wife guy, destroy on sight.
Oh no, just work on something.
Like the
Spy
thing,
report on Angler spanning all seas, several question marks.
yes. Basically, you get the vibe of whoever this is like literally the only access we have to this guy, and any sort of weakness is that he has a family he cares about. And if you feel like being that much of a dick, go ahead. But otherwise,
No.
But yeah, repose, heretic, etc. All the things
Mhm.
that he mentioned, and again, more detail than I am giving right now. Not a
Right.
complete total profile of all of you, but enough to be like, if this information had gotten into the right hands or been used the right way at the right time, like say if the boat plane had actually worked, you would have been boned.
And I assume no telling signature, just anonymous.
Yeah, this time it is actually, you recognize the handwriting as one of the Your Friend letters. It is not signed Your Friend.
Well, of course, because they're our friend,
And
not Kargat's friend.
the very straightforward bluntness does fit with the sudden, okay, they're leaving, they just screwed up my plan, I need to fix this problem.
Was it a week late or a week early?
It was delayed about the expectation was that you would be there about a week later than you got there.
Okay.
Guan leans over Obsidian's shoulder to read. Well, you can't actually lean over, you're too huge. He's more looking around your side to read the letter, and his face is also darkening.
This is too
What?
too exact.
Yeah. I smell wandering stars.
When both Obsidian and Guan would be done reading it, he'd roll it up, tuck it in a breast pocket.
So, 8, 9. 9 successes on the one I forgot to tabulate on it. Okay. Guan has a visible moment flicker across his face. When did you land?
Would again, out of character, I don't know. In character, would
You
gives
would-
that number.
okay. This is wrong. This is wrong. How would this
Yeah.
be wrong?
That's sticking out to me as well. If it was early, that would make sense. We made an unexpected stop at the massive pillar of amethyst.
We brought
But-
no weapons.
This is a late date, and I'm not that good of a captain.
Read intentions again.
Okay. Fuck.
You can actually sense Juan just drawing in on himself and becoming perfectly still and completely masking his face. Sybil, on the other hand, is giving him a look of like, alright. do we talk about this now? Kind of that sensation of like there is something being unspoken, and Guan is really trying to not let it come out, but Sybil is just like, come on. Guan, I know. I know.
Obsidian would hold up a hand. If it's something that you don't wish to talk about, do not feel pressed. This is a problem for me and my hearth. You've already done more than enough to help us.
There's just this kind of pained exhale of air from Guan. No, I owe you this. I don't know. I will tell you what I know. And that is what I will tell you.
Okay.
There is one and only one explanation that I can think of that does not involve around manipulating your father. Which, if he truly wanted you dead, he would have given you an accurate timetable and then gotten more actionable information and helped set it up more accurately. If he was truly and genuinely wrong, and thought he wasn't, that means that his intelligence is wrong. And predicting like things like this, he gestures to the sky, to the tent above him, but clearly is like gesturing to the sky. The Maiden of Journeys owns a fifth of the sky. If he wanted to know when your boat would land, he would know to the second when it landed. Unless the Maiden of Journeys couldn't see it.
There is, at that exact word, like Obsidian is listening closely, like, You couldn't see your boat, and then his face just goes blank as that exact moment of, but
That same kind of blank fuck look is on Guan's face, and Sybil has just kind of stepped back and removed herself from the conversation temporarily.
there is a moment of the entire Earth feeling that one solid word. Usually it is feelings. You feel a word this time.
Oh. Fuck.
Fuck.
Huh. I don't think I fucked up recently. Why do I feel this?
You felt that too?
Well, wait, what?
Yeah, Obsidian, roll me willpower.
Dang, everyone's feeling a bit like there's a mistake. What?
Whew.
Hey, the inside of that manse does have that mural of somebody blocking the stars out of the sky.
Well, it appears my dumb luck has saved my ass once again.
I will leave it there then.
I thank you both, and hopefully the next time we meet, I will bring less serious news, and we can just have maybe a nice dinner.
I'd like that. And Sybil just kind of gives a nod and a gentle pat on the shoulder.
Would bow, see myself out, and then a very hurried walk turning into full sprint back to the earth. Fuck.
Hey, is that a dust cloud?
No. Go back to map temporarily. So yeah, the rest of the hearth can just feel over the pitch of the fucking hearth connection, just this intensely increasing just feeling of oh god, oh god, oh god, things make sense and I don't like it. Nah, as it just comes closer and closer.
Slams into whatever hotel. Where are we staying right now?
That depends on where everybody would want to be at the moment.
Well, we're currently in the middle of a field, was where we last left off.
Yeah. Possibly you could be still just outside the city if you want to be.
I think. Okay, this is the funny way to do this. And would be perfect because Obsidian is in a panic right now.
Mhm.
Hey Darren, what would I roll in order to expressly find Angler, Milan, or Yang?
Them specifically, I would say probably perception survival? Or wit survival.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
I know what the difference is. I was really just considering which one would be more important. Okay, you can narrow in on the hearth connection enough to run directly towards the closest one, which is going to be, let me just... Angler.
Probably for the best. So Obsidian runs into Angler and just like Angler, I need you to win carry words. To get we need to gather.
We need you to learn how to use a phone.
He sees Obsidian come forward. He's worried something terrible's happened. He's just, can you make a phone call for me? Sure. And I will call the hearth to my location. And also old man.
Old man, we need you.
What? You're out. What? Did someone send me something? Say something?
Like the about up to the first knuckle of the pinky toe on old man's foot has regrown and is just kind of prodding at it to make it go faster in the middle of the call.
I would have us gather in some place private. I know we can code a call and all that, but yeah, but actually, is the boat nearby?
That would be all the way down to the canal at the south.
Damn.
But you could use your mental connection to speak with Onyx, but
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I saw the river here in my brain.
yeah, no.
The river.
This is an isolated river.
Yes. Okay.
We are all going out into the wilderness to have our own briefing with the news. We can all just be coming out to meet you.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. Just be like out down here. So the group would be you're basically about where the cleared agricultural lands and hills have been starting to give way back to natural untended land and grazing land. And, a couple miles in the distance, you can see where the hills start to rise again and become hillier, fertile, untouched landscape. The cliff looms in the distance to the northwest. You're not in the literal middle of nowhere, but you're pretty much, like, just especially with any of the charms that would sense people watching you, there's nobody else out here.
Actually, stepping away a moment.
So once everybody is there, would take out the letter and trying to think of a way to word this. Just say, like, I'd hand the letter to Angler, and then in sort of like a coded kind of like not really coded, but like I'm using abstract words for things.
Mhm.
I'd say. So I met with my business partner and his wife, and we had a bit of a discussion about what has happened recently, and found out that our friend above was the one who contacted my family members, and honestly got most of the details right with all of this, except for you can see when we would have arrived on the island, and talking with my associate, came to the conclusion that the only reason that the timetable there is wrong is clearly due to the quality of our boat.
Interesting. Hey, Yang,
Nah.
could you set up that thing we had where we had the discussion earlier about a month and a half ago back on the island?
The Stern Looks network.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
You are now in Kodak and can speak freely.
First message of Codec is Molon just swearing obscenities at the stars.
Yeah, so the heavens hate us, and the only reason that we weren't completely fucked was because my boat is a first age artifact.
Hate us or are concerned about what we're doing?
Well,
I
which
don't
part of
know.
the heavens?
I don't know.
Obsidian would still have the letter on hand to show
like the
others.
letters being passed around, like the handwriting is sort of similar to our friend, but who can say if the heavens can't copy that? Like, what can the heavens do and can't do?
I mean, I would just assume that yes.
Yeah.
Now that the letter is whole again, I'd like to sniff it and see if it smells like our friend or similar, but not the exact same.
Smells like your friend, not Poison and Lies edition.
So, an associate or just them not doing their whole shtick?
The letters that had that venomous lies undercurrent were smelled very, like, totally different. That smell is not here. The other set of letters with the other smell is more what this smells like.
Oh, no. Okay. This smells different. Because Loon just got back. This letter doesn't have the reek of lies and what we would usually associate with our friend. So,
It smells like the letter he sent to the Inquisitor.
Yep.
Hey, refresh me on what the Inquisitor's letter detailed.
Basically,
It was just an invitation to get in on schemes.
Get in on schemes.
It was a greeting.
Hey, new spy network, who dis? But, Yang interrupted that.
Okay, so we have a celestial agent going around the region, and we keep breaking their schemes. Most of the time without realizing.
And it
Like a bad
seems
agent.
that whenever we get onto my boat, they can't keep track of us.
We should give Onyx a raise.
Yes.
Repose?
Slow raise of eyebrow.
How would one shield themselves from heaven?
Suppose I may as well roll some dice since this is important.
Yeah,
and
this would be an intelligence occult roll because this is actually a hell of a question.
It should be educated exactly how much on the subject Rep actually knows beyond. I suppose then I could assert being able to tag in the undead specialty as
Because
the
that is
underworld is
proximate.
an example of things
This
beyond
is the
fate.
proximate topic you would actually know a fair bit about from a certain lens. Well, boy, go off basically. If there is something that I need to correct, I can, but like you know how being outside fate works.
Yeah, we're not under any particular time pressure, so we can suppose then that the in-character lecture begins on, well,
5 minutes later.
several minutes later. So fate was invented at some point. Fate is constructed. It was placed there when the stars were lit and the sky was built, and so on and so forth. So propose we'll give, like, everyone else can, prod him to move on and keep a reasonable pace, but... So yeah, categories of things that are outside of the boundaries of fate. Fae and the wild. Hell and demons. Probably accepting a little bit when they are actually under the binds of sorcery. That briefly brings them into the eyes of the law a little bit. The underworld and ghosts. And then just anything else that large enough wizards and big enough geniuses can figure out how to cut the strings of things and take them off of the grid. And I suppose definitely then with the 9, and I think one of those dice should actually re-roll even more so, but I won't worry about that. Repose can, as a scholar, reasonably hypothesize that this is the nature of how spies of heaven would disguise themselves in abstract. That if you had access to the loom and are a being of power, you could just tell you could just write lies in weave.
You could change how things are meant to be or what they say they are.
The maidens and their tools are incredibly powerful and do a lot to regulate the operations of the world, but they are not invincible.
If something happens to yank itself off the grid of all of their locational systems and dictates of how the narrative should go, it's just out of their ability to control or track.
Wait.
So, main things, go somewhere that is outside the boundaries of fate, or be something that is from outside of fate, or consequently, entrust something from outside of fate to do stuff for you, would be your ways to dodge heavenly surveillance.
Which means the manse and the boat was ripped out of fate, which is, I guess, what the mural was depicting.
That is the sort of thing that pharaohs would want to do.
Hey, isn't it weird how absolutely nothing interacted with that manse in no form of predestined manner until blind dumb luck found it thousands of years later? Like there was no sort of mechanism to regulate what could and couldn't find it?
We've got celestial contraband.
Just a sigh of, man, going a level above. So it's a first stage artifact, and people may hate that too. It's a fucked up first stage artifact, and heaven hates that.
You know heaven despises most things that exist in this world.
Legitimately, Obsidian would not.
The heavens despise him, pointing at Old Man. They despise me. They despise him, pointing at Moat. It's a good.
Moat looks
little
actually rather
scratch on
proud of the
head.
accusation.
Yeah, good abomination. Best cat.
Milan waves. I've probably pissed off my fair share of gods.
Frankly, I don't know why it hates me so much. I haven't done anything wrong.
Says they're filing error.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a mistake I made?
Nope.
Even discounting this revelation regarding Onyx's abilities and spiritual locale, we have been outside the boundaries of fate on multiple occasions this year alone.
Yep.
All of the common workfolk at the dust mines slip beyond the bounds of fate every day that they go out to gather the dust.
Oh, I don't think that's the problem. I was just pointing out that is a factor, and quite frankly, it's probably the only reason that we're all still here. The other thing to bring about of this is that, as you know, already said, all right, so heaven may hate everyone, but we are extremely on heaven's shit list. Or a heaven person
Good.
being.
They're doing a garbage job.
Just would look at Yang. Again, if it wasn't for the boat, we'd all be dead.
And I'm not, so I'm gonna keep shouting.
Well,
Old man nods at Yang. I think we are actually in agreement here.
I agree with that as well. If we're on heaven's shit list, they keep finding ways of throwing shitty people in the area at us, and we're making the area better in the process.
I don't see why we should stop rocking the boat, frankly. It seems to be doing good things.
I'm not saying we shouldn't either. I'm just saying.
And I just want to rock it harder now.
How do we do that while also dealing with this? Somebody who could, I don't know, send anything about us to anyone at any time.
Punch them?
You could just looks up. Yang points at the stars. How do you punch that?
Well, they come down here to punch us, and then when they do that, then we punch them.
Why would they come
No,
down
speaking
here?
from
No.
experience, they don't have to come down to punch you.
Personally,
Exactly. They're not going to come down. They're going to keep finding proxies here for us.
Yeah, we'll just keep
We will
wrecking.
keep taking care of the proxies until we become a big enough an issue that they are forced to do other ways to deal with us.
And then that means there are less people in their aggregate, so by the time we die, that means they've run out of, henchmen. And then it's all good.
Do you have a better way for us to deal with heaven?
Well, you can help me.
I mean, like, we probably shouldn't deal with them, right? Because then that would make us anathema.
Hey, Loon, roll me another wits occult roll.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
was about to ask for. May I make an omens check?
Yeah, you can as well.
Can old man make an omens check?
Like, I want the world to still be there. I just want it to stop being lazy.
I think Old Man is a little too solipsistic for the exact revelation here.
Actually, silly question. Since I've been reading books on astrology and I have a cult now, can I also make a check?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
This was specifically Bradway and thus Milan's mind wondering. Wait, I'm just gonna look around.
And just go
We're
check
having
the
a
old
discussion.
occult excellency again. It is 10s reroll non-1s.
This guy seems fine.
Wow, look at that
So
cool
none
bird.
additional there.
Okay.
Well, yeah, a 6.
All right, let's see
And a
if
6.
Obsidian gets anything, because an omens roll for Obsidian is a 6.
We have every single player at the table who is not good at occult roll for an omen, except for the guy who is good at it, who's far too distracted and thinking about other things.
Okay,
He's thinking
so
about mountains.
everyone but Repose is rolling specifically on omens. Repose is prompting another thing. Milan and Obsidian are looking around for any omen of anything kind of going sideways, and if anything? No? No, to an almost degree of, whoa, hang on. If we're talking about this under the open sky and nothing's happening, why would... Hey, Repose. Old Man is a living definition of the defiance of the wheel of reincarnation and fate. What if Old Man's out of fate? Old Man shouldn't exist.
I can't believe everything's thanks to Old Man.
What if Old Man's presence has been constantly fucking with fate
can't.
around you?
I can't believe this.
What
The
if
agent
old man
did
is a boat?
mistakenly describe him as a corpse. When he is clearly alive.
Old Man is a paradox in the loom of fate,
Old Man is off the record.
and things that are off the record that keep wandering around and doing things tend to complicate matters a lot for things that are on the record.
I think at some point Yang's gonna perk up and go, wait, you're a living filing error. Milan's right.
So you're gonna come forward with this revelation as well directly to Old Man? I want to know. Or are you going to discuss this amongst yourselves?
I'll probably say it aloud by accident.
Hmm?
You are an EMP for God. Well, EMP is an archaic concept.
You would find an equivalent. You would say you would be like a snare in a loom.
You're a mosquito repellent. You're the
Yang would
smoke
probably
in the
like
tent.
name a sedative or something
Mhm.
coming out of alchemic
But
backgrounds.
the idea is it's something that interrupts a thing like minutely but does not destroy it, so cleanly is harder to track. Probably some sort of concept of like hunting, of just like how you would cover your tracks without ruining the area around you or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Here's the thing: the moment you reveal that the like idea to him that they can't really keep track of him, and his presence is making things like weirder for everyone else. Old Man gets the most shit-eating, the toothiest, the rudest and nastiest like smirk on his face you've ever seen him do, and you've seen him do a lot of those.
It is all the way to Grinch face.
We're going full Grinch mode at this, and he stands as straight up as he possibly can, which he can't go all the way up.
Hey, real quick.
He's going to look directly at the sky. I was right all along. The only thing controlling my fate is myself.
Oh, this is good. Hey, remember that that secret pack Milan was given by a demon? Taps forehead.
Gonna go ahead and do like a big ol' like fist, like start punching at the air, going, I alone dictate my path under the heavens. I always have. I was right all along.
Rose just shuffles up to Old Man while he is at like the peak of his cackling and reveling, and just gives a gentle knock on the side of the geta.
Mm-hmm. And after he calms down a little bit from just the sheer glee he's currently experiencing, he goes, yeah, I suppose.
You still have the Necronomicon I lent you.
The what?
Oh, I
This
believe
is a
it's
thing
on the
that happened
boat.
after the
Yes.
after we heard about Old Man's soul situation.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right after the wild, he got a Book of the Dead.
If you'd like, I can go turn into birds real quick and go grab it. It shouldn't take long. You know what? I'm gonna go do that.
Have you been making any use of it?
Well,
Propose
unfortunately,
probably
he's-
asked this as you are
Have you
beginning
been
to
making
dissolve
any-
into
Yes.
birds.
Poof!
before his head goes like turns into birds, he will say, "I can't read it." and
When
he
has
will
that
go grab
stopped
it.
you before? Because old man also can't read the book he learned sorcery from.
Yeah,
It's
but he
clearly
had
just
more
part of his
years to
deal.
deal with that one. That was like 40 years of dealing with it without being able to read it. But this one, it's been like, what, a year?
Less.
It's been some
Like,
months.
less than a few months.
Wild. Yeah, no, he
And
literally
yeah,
is
to
going to
remind
go ahead
about
and...
that. So the deal with that book is, it is combination funerary rites and tutorials for how to be a ghost. It is instructions from both sides of the equation on how to prepare someone to be dead.
That's rare. No one ever tutorializes how to be a ghost.
Not these days.
They're all behind paywalls. It sucks.
Probably like after a couple of hours, old man's like swarm of birds just haphazardly carrying the book will arrive back, drop it in front of Repose, and then fully reconstitute. There is still 108 birds, except one of them is tiny and shitty and a lot like sicklier than all the rest, which is impressive given that they're already all pretty sickly
It's
looking.
a tiny chick that can still fly.
It's
Except it's
flapping
still
like,
an adult and old.
Yes.
yeah.
It's
is
like
somehow-
a fucking Benjamin Button
It's
bird.
somehow an ancient baby.
Yes. That bird with progeria is what it looks like.
And Repose will just
the
kind of
bird with
pick up
pajamas
this
is
conversation immediately where it left off, regardless of whatever we've done in the intervening time of
Mhm.
just... Well, if you aren't making any use of it, I would have it back. It does save me the effort of retranscribing.
Feel free. Pop, like, cough, and, you, old man actually, like, lets out what is basically an owl pellet. That's unfortunate.
Fuck, man, come on.
I need to control those birds better. They shouldn't be eating at all.
Anyway, it seems like we've accomplished something here. Do we proceed to
Unless
get the
there was
news?
more discussions of the ramifications of a player character and your major base and transit all being snarls in the loom of fate. Otherwise, the people who could want to go and talk to Sybil and Guan still have that appointment.
Yes. Everyone else who wants news on that front, go get you news.
All right, sound off of who would actually be going to visit them.
That would be me.
Repose will be there to supervise.
Okay, so Angler, Repose, Milan.
Milan's going to be absent.
Okay, Old Man,
What? Visiting who?
Sybil and Guan. I know, but
What?
Yeah.
Visiting who?
You know what? Actually, yes, old man will go.
yeah, I figured you actually might this time. That's why I asked.
Mhm.
And would Yang go? And would Obsidian go a second time? I believe someone might have stepped away. So I'll start with just Old Man, Angler, and...
I'd probably go because the only other thing Obsidian would want to do right now is go back to the boat, and that would be a walk. So
yeah.
If
So-
if everyone's going, Milan can be there.
Okay. I'll just have it as everyone for now. So just pull the tokens back down. Okay, so we'll switch back over to the map as after that conversation, the rest of the group takes the, hour or two hike, probably having a bit of the conversation on the hike over back to the campsite, where at this point, Sun is now has a small table in front of him and is obviously preparing what looks to be either a late lunch, early dinner kind of situation. And Sybil is helping grill some of what looks like a very large fish over the fire with her bare hands. She's just holding it in the fire.
Moat ran on ahead of the group and has already climbed the Duchess.
Duchess flicked an ear once and then allowed the small cat to lay upon the head.
Moat accepts victory.
I believe the last time Old Man actually saw Sun was like a little bit after the oak stuff.
I don't know if you saw him. No, you saw him when he teleported in with Sybil.
Yeah, we all had that.
That was it. That was the last
encounter
time
in the
a lot of you
canyon.
saw the two of them together.
I'm just saying that the only time Old Man has actually ever interacted with Sybil was when he got punched.
Oh, yeah. No, that was back in the forest when she was messing with you and she gave you the test punch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The
Sybil
test punch that was genuinely impressive, actually.
Mm-hmm. She looks up as she's holding the fish in the fire, just like, oh, hey, how are y'all doing? Just kind of casually. Her hands aren't even marked by the fire. No burns, no blisters, no nothing like that. The fire is just, if anything, they're just kind of glowing a tiny bit red as the fish is just cooking along perfectly. And Sun is just kind of casually processing ingredients and looks up, gives a nod, goes back to chopping up vegetables. Is there anything I can do for the rest of you? Sybil says as she pulls out the fish to kind of peel up a bit of the skin, look at the meat underneath it, shake her head, put it back in.
Well, I mean, the first thing is I do have the people who need to meet Duchess here in the area, so at some point you need to stop by.
Oh, your family, right? What part of the region have they settled down in?
I would be directly east of here, correct?
Little southeast.
Southeast, yes.
The old prefecture. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, we can go down there next, right? Son? Yeah, I was figuring about going down that way again, doing the loop again. Yeah. Okay, we can talk to them. We can show them off. Same thing we promised.
That's most of what Angler would say at this meeting, except he would do a wind carried words to Sybil, which is just a very terse, I want a rematch.
She does not even bother to hide the sidelong look to Angler with a giant smile of just like, oh, if you ask. Like, everybody else may or may not decide if they need to read intentions to figure out what she just heard, but that is definitely the look of just, I have been activated. You were asking for this.
Press the button, press the button, press the button, press the button, press the button.
Sun just kind of glances over to her and then over to Angler, sighs very slightly, and goes back to his ingredients. So how have the rest of you been doing? It's been a while since we've talked, and well, it's been, I believe, last time was when I was going a little hard, and in the letter I did apologize, and I just wanted to make that again clear. But she just kind of pulls out the fish again, peels it back, and then just starts peeling out strips of the fillet and just kind of crunching on them.
Indirectly, your letter helped us come to terms with some things we needed to, so thank you. We needed to have a long conversation, and it helped.
Good. Well, I'm always glad to help, reinforce and support people and help them build up and make them stronger. It's kind of what I like to think I consider myself here for, she says, just kind of chewing on a fish. Like, not like literally taking bites out of it, yes, yet. It is clear that she's like kind of considering it, but is trying to be slightly more polite with bare-handed table manners in the presence of people who don't know her too well, while Sun is just kind of shaking his head slightly.
What, no bear this time?
Oh, the bear was just to fuck with you. Well, the bear was to help the people out there. Eating the heart was to fuck with you. Did I get any of you with that, by the way? I still didn't ever get a chance to ask that.
I'm pretty sure I
Sure.
was into it, actually. Like, I gave you
Old man was into
thumbs
it.
up. Yeah.
She kind of nods over to old
That
man.
seems like the right prompting for Repose to slide up to the fire across from them and very loudly slam down into a seated position across from them, allow a bit of ominous vibration to ebb out through the ground.
Sun puts the knife down, folds his hand and watches, and Sybil just kind of sits up straighter into a, okay, serious conversation incoming.
And just after an appropriate everyone is paying attention gap, Repose will just get right to the point of among the new arrivals, there is an immaculate initiate.
Right.
She is schooled thoroughly in the ways of the inland orthodoxy, and from the imperial household most renowned for carrying out acts of righteous violence against those opposed to the world.
Sun just mumbles to himself. Sybil is actually maintaining a rather even keel face on this.
And again, alright, this is another situation where in character gap will be much slower since Repose has already planned all of these statements and knows exactly the points that he needs to lay down. I'm just finalizing my sense of phrasing.
Yeah, that's fine.
However, in my current assessment of her character, she is more inclined to scholarly pursuits than acts of warfare. And in fitting her aspect and her age, has not yet entirely settled on the course which she intends to pursue as a child of the world and servant of the natural order.
Sun is very quietly and carefully sorting the already diced vegetables and ingredients without... The knife is very well far away from his hands at this point, and it's just kind of moving slowly. It's just like, I'm continuing to work, but...
For my part, I have already begun the work to approach her as a potential ally.
Eyebrows raise on Sun, and Sybil just kind of gives a rather warm smile.
I will appreciate this pursuit is not made more difficult by any outside interference.
Hands off, she says. Just completely no interruption, no hesitation, and a nod. And Sun just gives a nod as well. We are just going to be two normal folks from the region, if and when we ever cross paths, and in any event where circumstances tip that, we're going to play our hands carefully and remove ourselves from the situation to maintain distance. After all, it's the least we can do to help respect your wishes. Sounds like she needs some time to figure out what she's doing for herself rather than me poking at her. Sounds like she's got enough fat on our plate anyway. After all, there is only so much constructive conflict that you can press on somebody before it starts to backfire.
Speaking of that, over the hill, you hear someone grunting and swearing, and it sounds like there's a cart being pulled.
Sybil looks up with a smile. Wondered where they went. And Son is just kind of leans a elbow on the table and rests his face in one hand of just.
And yeah,
So there's probably a road coming into here, right? There's probably like infrastructure that we all use to get here.
There's a bit of a trail towards the river, yeah.
Out of the brush comes me carrying a fucking cart. Yang, just out of breath. He's got the stupid fucking autoclave on the cart.
Son goggles at it, and Sybil's smile just grows wider.
And I wheel in front of Sybil and pass out. Take a short break.
Okay, hang on, come here. She just very gently picks up Yang from under the armpits, has him take a seat near the fire, peels up a strip of fish, and kind of offers it like, "You want one?"
Yes.
And then hands over like basically an entire fillet over to Yang. Gives a gentle pat on the back. How have you been?
Great. Could you harden that? I fucked it up with a bird.
Hardened it. Fucked it up with the. She just kind of leans
The
over.
bird
and
was
opens
me,
it up.
by the way.
Bird, it was his toe,
Wait,
not you.
on purpose or on accident?
It was in the heat of the moment. I didn't realize the bird
That
was.
doesn't answer my question. Did you do it on purpose on the heat of the moment or on accident in the heat?
It was on purpose after the bird hit my fucking Quicksilver.
She just gives another look over to old man.
I was doing science and then
What?
I got interrupted by a fucking pigeon attacking me for no reason. I was minding my own business.
They're frog mouths.
It doesn't matter
She
what
just
they
kind of
are.
snaps her fingers. Don't know what the regional word would be for it. Explode into birds? You learned that recently?
Yes. I don't know what they call it. I came up with it myself, sort of.
He's quite bad at it.
I'm quite bad at it still.
Good enough to fuck up.
Yeah,
my
no,
science
it's real
career.
tricky. I never actually bothered learning that one myself. I saw a couple of sorcerers trying it and getting themselves into a bad situation and just decided that was a path I wasn't going to be going down. Anyway, let's take a look at this.
That wasn't the dumbest thing that happened that day.
Sybil looks up just immediately, just glinting eyes of, oh, you gotta tell me the dumbest thing.
I would look over at Yang.
But that was the dumbest thing that happened, wasn't it?
Gohan just
She knows
groans.
she knows about the moon silver.
Oh,
And yeah, as the pause is going on, the smile is growing wider. Of yeah, I know already. I just wanted to see what you were going to say.
damn.
Oh.
I was trying to put him in a shitty situation.
For what it's worth, the bird was not aware of the difference between the real proper Quicksilver and that I'm looking for,
So it's
and
a
what
better,
Yang had.
than a normal bird, really.
Sybil glances over to Guan. Don't we have some of that? No.
Now hold on.
Why would you do
Old
that?
man
We
will
do
clack on
not.
over.
Why would you do this?
When you say you do not, do you mean you do not have any for sale, or you do not have any?
I don't have any for you.
Why would you phrase it like that?
It's
To
quite a
make
lot
it
worse.
abundantly clear.
Hmm. Well, it's merely one path to power. You're not going to give that up, and I won't force the issue. Instead,
Wise.
old man will pull out a plaque in the shape of a mountain that may or may not have been cut into this shape just recently. Do you recognize this peak?
One. Oh wait, should have had that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's 1, and Sybil. Sybil goes very quiet for a moment, thinking. Kind of looks like Cough. A little bit. Not all the way.
Old man will like move it in different directions to get like different angles to like think of, oh hey, looks vaguely right, but if you saw from this angle, sort of thing. He only has the silhouette though, so it doesn't really work properly. I swear I've seen it before, and therefore it
You
has
might
to
have
be.
dreamed of it before. It might be something more.
Oh, please! You think
archetypical.
you don't think that I get real sleep?
Gives a shrug. You might have had it once or twice in your life.
Well, when's the last time you
Perhaps.
went to that peak? Maybe it's different now.
I'd be careful of that if I
No.
were you. She says, that might be your soul's internal expression of enlightenment, or it might be a bit of a false path.
Well, a false path that I decide to never go down, or the correct one, is just another decision I have to make.
That's on you, she says simply as Guan is just drumming his fingers and sighing.
And you're absolutely sure that I can't get any of that.
Why on earth would I trust you with that when I've seen everything else you've done with sorcery?
Oh, please, I would drink it.
Yes, and
I'm not entirely sure what that'd do, but I'm sure it'd be important. And what you've seen me do with sorcery? Really? Say this about any other sorcerer in the world, I'd believe you. But do you know how many times how many spells I've cast in the last, say, 3
I'm
weeks?
not talking about the sorcery itself. I'm talking about what it's done to you.
Oh, what it's done to me has been mostly good things. As old man does a full spring body, like he twists his body around multiple different. He does a quick 720 on his waist, basically.
I'm not talking about your body.
Hmm. As far as I'm concerned, what you're talking about and my body are one and the same. I'm pretty sure that's how. I
There's
think
a-
that's what's causing having to overlook things as well.
There's a slow exhale. That would make sense, but in the interests of maintaining the accord of this meeting, I will not go down this conversation path unless dragged down it.
And you're 100% sure I can't get any of it.
He actually just kind of sets down the ingredients again, turns and looks. So why do you want to be?
I think that's a wrong question.
Then what is the answer? What is the question you would prefer to ask?
I don't think there's a question I can ask or answer to actually adequately explain why I should.
What are you going to do when you get there?
Keep climbing, I think.
And do you ever intend to stop?
Is there ever a point to stop?
No. You can.
There's
never have
no good point to stop. There's nowhere. There has never been a good
You
place to
misunderstood me.
cease.
I said no. I am never giving Mercury.
Well, all right then. And Dolmen will clap his hands together and, rub them off. If there's legends about it, you can't have the only source. So all I'll have to do is find some myself.
And may you have the luck you deserve on that. And he just kind of turns back to his ingredients and goes back to picking up the knife and dicing. Sybil just kind of gives a shrug and a shake of her head. You'll have to forgive Juan. He's not unjustifiably got a couple of opinions about sorceress working. After all, had me to look at for a while.
Oh, what grudge will I hold? I mean, he's right.
She just kind of shakes her head slightly. It's a whole discussion. Maybe we can have a more in-depth discussion of your own approach to sorcery and mine one day. I think they're kind of close together. You're self-taught, and I'm not entirely self-taught, but I'm kind of close. So we could compare notes on it.
Well, unfortunately, I've given up all my notes at this point.
Oh, it's a phrase. You understand what I mean.
Well, it's a phrase, and also in some ways is also literal.
Oh, was that what you gave up?
No,
Blink. Oh, okay. And meanwhile, Moat opens an eye as Repose is approaching the Duchess, as the Duchess is still curled up in a ball asleep. Well,
Yep,
slight
when
ball.
it is time to go, you'll retrieve mode.
The line that got cut off, for those in chat who mentioned, is, why do you want to be immortal?
Mhm.
But the conversation shifts again as Sybil kind of looks over towards Yang as she is messing with the centrifuge. So how long did it take you to make this?
A couple weeks.
Weeks? Really? Wow.
I was
Impressive. It's just kind of fiddling around. Okay, so dented on the inside. Bird was probably copper at the same time, wasn't it, old man?
Yep.
Yeah, that would explain the damage. Hang on. Wait, I don't need to. She just kind of claps her hands together, and there's a very slight golden glow around them, as like she was reflexively reaching behind her to get for a tool before realizing, wait, hang on, I don't need that. Claps her hands, gold glow around them as she's just gently starting to polish the inside with her hand, and just the dents immediately start removing themselves.
Oh, that's handy. Is that something I can do?
You might be able to do something like it, but this exact thing, no, it's something I figured out how to do with my anima. It's
Okay.
kind of sun stuff, as far as I can tell, she says, as she's massaging the metal.
I
So
mean,
this is alchemical separator, isn't it?
Yang wondering, could I do that? As like over his shoulder in the distance, Repose is working on today's rock.
Yeah, no, that's... Sybil can't quite see it because of the Duchess in the way, but...
What was the thing we just said before that? I forgot already.
It's an alchemical separator, isn't it?
Well, I call it the Orb of Insight.
Really? And
yes.
why is that?
Because I do not know what the fuck will happen when I use it.
So you made this with no idea what it does, and yet you managed to make something that functions, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the entire point of discovery, right?
Yeah, it is. It is the heart of invention, and all such things. Really, I honestly... The more I hear about what has been going on with you and your adventures, the more I'm proud I am. And I had a good feeling about you from the start.
Well, that's a mistake.
Yes, it was. Luna must be so sad that Gaia got you first. Vaughn just kind of gives a little twitch with the knife hand at that statement. As she's kind of working on it and muttering to herself as she's like measuring the gauge of the metal and otherwise separating it out.
Yeah, I probably didn't have access to very choice metal. It's just whatever the hell we had on the ship.
Honestly, this is really impressive with what you had on hand. Looks like it was all repurposed.
Well, okay, so there was a shipment of ore that no one seems to have noticed has gone yet. It was pretty bad, though, so...
Sybil just kind of looks over at Yang and then over at Obsidian and then just kind of back to Yang. Is that your way of confession, or your other way of hoping he's not paying attention?
Yes.
Bold! I like it. Yeah. Sybil kind of closes.
As an aside, Obsidian probably knows.
Obsidian probably saw him do it and went, I don't give a shit.
Does
He's got that look on his face like he knows what he's doing, so whatever.
does the trader who probably inventories everything notice that a bit of his inventory is gone, and then this thing showed up out of nowhere? Could be anything.
Really, when you think about it, it just kind of turned into a solid acid instead of liquid, you know. Well, it turned from goods into a different kind of good. It's fine. It's still a good.
She closes the lid and starts kind of moving around the extra kind of circuiting stars and other objects around it. Did you have a tutor for anything? Brother Repose, how much did you help him on this?
It was a shouting match, really, wasn't it?
How often do you think he asked?
Well, there's a difference between asking and whether or not you were going to volunteer information for your brother. I don't know that. I haven't been around you that long. She kind of gives a flick to the outmost one and has the whole arrangement start spinning as she watches.
I want to retcon that when it has an internal music box, and then when it goes faster, it makes a jingle.
She just kind of smiles to herself a little bit. You got promise. I don't know for what, but you've got promise for something.
Yeah, me neither.
That's the most fun part, really, is when you're working with an unshaped marble or uncarved log of wood, and then all the possibilities are there, and you're whittling it down. Each choice you make makes the shape that you're going to make it just that little bit smaller and more defined, but honestly, the joy of it is just kind of seeing what comes out, isn't it?
Beep.
And then sometimes it's so confusing that the sun and the moon show up and make sure you stop that shit. And then you have.
Oh, I'm sure you weren't the direct cause of that, but they were probably just in the right angle to look.
You have no idea how bad I want to not be the cause of that.
It takes a lot to get my boss's attention directly. Like, a lot. Like, I've gotten it maybe once in, glances over to Guan. Guan glances back over. A while. But,
He's probably got depression or something. It's fine.
Sybil just kind of there's a moment where Sybil doesn't act, is kind of taken slightly aback at the statement.
What?
I wouldn't quite put it that way.
Like, he made us, and we all get sad, right? So clearly he can also, like, you know, get sad, and it probably just lasts a bit longer, like, I don't know, a decade instead of a year.
I like your logic, but he wasn't the one who made us.
I'm gonna look at Repose and be like, wait, what?
Repose will be looking back with just a bit of a "were you not? Come
Were
on.
you not paying attention?
Which, like, yeah,
I thought
refresher.
the baby was the sun!
But like refresher though, Sol was lit and raised after most of creation was already in place.
Yes. Like, this is perfect, because this is exactly
Sol
the
did
kind
not create any of the world. He was created to serve it.
Well, then who made the concept of babies, then?
of Gaia.
Other things. Mostly Gaia.
That would be Baby God.
I thought the baby that punched the wolf was well, I guess if the wolf was there, then the baby would have to. Well, now that I think about it, yes, it all falls apart. But the point is,
Sybil is just laughing to herself really hard at this point.
Remember that
And-
the sun was a baby once. This means that babies pre-existed at the time.
And remember, a lot of those stories are also filtered through narrative symbolism and logic, but a lot of it may have also literally happened, because who the fuck knows? None of us were there.
Pretty sure the sun was once a baby. I don't know if that's actually the case, but I do think it's very funny.
I don't know. Old man might have been there.
Oh
Not that
no.
old.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm younger than Gestures at Sun, because, like, I'm pretty sure he is.
There's just an almost imperceptible nod at that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Guan kind of looks over his shoulder at Milan. Can I help you?
Milan's just going to sit down, take out a knife, and help just chop vegetables. And
That isn't. I. Oh, he just kind of is surprised, but kind of scoots to the side a little bit.
and during this go, so things have been awfully quiet around here.
Ah, yes, they have been.
Yes, that's as much as what Koi told me.
I had been occupied in the Thread River Valley, as has been discussed, and most of my attention was localized.
Well, from the greater region, you have not missed much.
That is about what I heard when I caught up later. After all, he read intentions.
All right. That is a 4.
He's being evasive about something, but you're not sure what or why.
Guan being Guan.
But there's something specific about this topic.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, bit of seasonal gunk.
It's fine.
Okay, there we go.
Hmm?
What was I getting at? Sorry.
Area has been quiet.
Yeah, area's been quiet.
Sorry, I just really like this mental image I have right now of Milan having his conversation, sneezing, and then going, "What was I saying?"
Milan has got a bit of Mila's gunk in his chest.
Yeah, just a little bit of the seasonal allergy. It is the season of Earth, so there is a lot of, blooming plant life.
What was I getting at with this?
Milan, you lost your sense of direction, not your sense of
No,
thought.
this is Bradway.
I know, I'm poking fun.
I know. Okay,
If anyone else is paying attention to the conversation with Guan, they can try also rolling read intentions.
The idea of, since we were away, things were quiet, and we're the reason why it's quiet.
Yeah. Milan's trying to press the push plot forward button.
Right. And out of character, feels like he's being a little evasive about something that might help with the plot.
Okay. Someone with better read intentions, please roll.
Oh, I'm ready to just kind of throw a brick into this situation. And
Actually, Darren, can I roll one for small talk
Yes.
specialty?
Obsidian has put a piece of jerky on a skewer and is roasting it over the fire.
Hmm.
Dang. Betrayed by my awkwardness.
I have brick to throw
Go ahead if you
into the
want.
conversation. Just after having spent a while seemingly zoned out, just watching Moat sleep pleasantly, just abruptly snap and turn to look directly at Guan. How's Bismuth?
Not doing well. He's actually still maintaining his knife work and is now preparing things to go into a pot to go over the fire, but sighs slightly. I get about an hour with him before he made it clear that my presence was not desired for the time being. I didn't find any proof, as he was being very vigilant, but I would be very heavily suspecting that communications are ongoing between him and Tyrant. And I don't know particularly how they are going in terms of an active alliance or cooperation, but I can tell you, I've never quite seen him so tired. I don't know what he's going to do. And he's not listening to me, and I don't know if he's going to be listening to you either. He kind of, as he puts the pot over the fire, looks up and makes eye contact with Repose as well. Whatever. It's not him. It's not him. At the end of the day. I've always been worried about where he might go in the right mindset, and I don't think it was necessarily only Timer who could have done this, but the beast folk that he's helping, that he's taken a sort of wardenship position of, they say he's never spent more time hibernating. He has been the past year. I don't think he wants to be awake.
Given the choice, who does?
That is part of what we spoke about. He gives another just kind of pained sigh, and Sybil just kind of leans in over him, like actually just scoots around the fire a little bit to put a hand on his shoulder, just kind of reassuringly.
A little bit of steam popping off because her arms are extremely hot, given
Yeah.
they've been in the fire.
Mm-hmm. And he actually does not really seem to react to that visibly. He, Sybil says, has been through circumstances that have put him where he is. He's... You went to the... That's not the first time it's happened. He's old, and he's taken up the mantle of carrying the burdens of the world around him, and time and tide make it that every proceeding attempt he's had will eventually... She just kind of has her hands up in the air and then just kind of drops them down to her waist. It's just kind of a falling motion. He'd always been rather reserved in the time that we've known him. We only figured out a lot of the context by talking to his contemporaries. He was very untoward about his past history. Can't particularly blame him. But I think what Guan is saying isn't finding the right words for is that even if he's not working with Tyrant, I think whatever Tyrant is saying is making all of that weight feel heavier. Or worse, making him feel like there's a way of taking it off.
Is the old bear someone to respond to a challenge?
He'd kill you.
No, not what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. He would kill you. You push his soft spots, and he will kill you.
Fair enough.
Punching somebody's pride isn't always the answer.
What
Not
if we
necessarily pride.
cushion those soft spots? He's got problems, obligations that tie him to the world around him. What if we ease some of that?
Good luck getting him to good luck getting him to trust you. You can.
You said he has a village he oversees. Beast folk?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should go introduce ourselves to them, see if there's anything, some small way we can help.
You'd probably get away with that fine. Don't expect him to be out and about and willing to talk to you about it, but you might be able to build yourself a nice solid bit of support before you introduce himself to you again.
If
After all,
anything,
you did-
just to help him, even if slightly more, sleep better at night. I say about the bear.
You did break the wild curse. And there is a pause as he looks into the fire before looking back over to Repose and Milan. I don't think he wanted to like you as much as he did.
That's between him and his feelings.
That's all he really has. He doesn't really listen to the counsel of other people much. Every time the world presses in on him, he tends to go deeper into his cave. It's a small miracle that he was willing to listen to me for an hour. Though you have a much shorter and cleaner history, so frankly, he might be willing to listen to you on principle with me, because he's already got quite a well-set opinion of me. And simple. He gives a look over to Repose of just hard to decipher kind of look, but it is the look of concern but understanding of what might happen. Not in a position to ask favors of any of you. but I would ask that. I don't think there's anything else I can do for him. So, do what you can before, if you have to. Make sure he's had a shot at it.
As had been said, this is your problem until it becomes our problem. If you invite us into this affair, then I will go where I am needed and do what I am able.
I need your.
It sounds like we're running out of things to do here. Did anyone else have any further
Any
business?
topics to bring up to the two of them?
Not while the crew is here.
Okay, so is
That's why
the
I invited them back to the other place to visit because he talked with them then.
right? Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to speak, like stay behind for the scene to do now, or just do that later. Like, well,
I'm still working over the idea. I want to make sure I've got it right before I talk with them.
Okay.
Stepping away again.
So yeah, just Hearth is given a couple of pots of food to go with as they head out. Just kind of a mix of stir fries and stews and fish, and head out. And it's pretty good food, really. It's not quite up to Milan's cooking. It's very simple. It is very use what I have on hand, make it tasty enough to eat, and then eat. Not all the way down to just make it edible and I don't care. There is some care taken to it, but it's very simple.
They used what spices they had on hand.
Yes.
Why would they use more spice? They can sell that for money.
Combination of that and probably just they have gotten their routines where they like their food at this point, and they're not used to cooking for other people.
Okay, so what Milan was thinking was Teeth has got a lot of issues that is stressing him, Gauntlet included. Tyrant included. Milan is proposing, hey, let's go be the Dragon Blood heroes we are and go solve some of those problems like we've done in the past for him. And just tell him to go take a nap.
Yeah, it sounds like I could use one.
The problem
Sounds of
seems to
thing-
be that he is taking a nap too much.
From the sounds of things, he is spending most of his days in a hibernative coma.
He's trying to cut himself off from the world.
It is the I want to sleep and never wake up feeling. Is the conveyance. It's not I want to die. It's I want to sleep and not wake up. Which, in practice is often a sign, but
Bear has depression.
yes.
And we probably can't solve the direct problem, but I'm proposing we solve tangential problems. Make things a little easier for him.
I agree.
How?
I'm back.
Do you want to go do side quests?
Yeah, sure.
If these beast folk need help, I mean, if their chosen guardian or leader or what have you is hibernating, some stuff accumulates. We can take care of some of that stuff.
And I-
As reported in the chat, my mic is having a little bit of an issue, so just give me 1 sec to plug in, plug out.
As will happen.
Alright, there we go. Hope that fixes it. If not, oh well. Okay, so sorry to interrupt. The thought process was to go poke at the vague lunar zone and figure out what you could do for side quests. Was
What
there
day
any-
is it?
Well, yes, there is that also.
Yes,
other time.
we have an important thing coming up.
It is the 5th right now. It is the evening of the 5th.
What was the time limit we have?
It is the 8th that is the incident upcoming.
Okay, so we have time to kill before we can really start going adventuring.
You have 2 or 3 days, and depending on what you get up to, that may be enough time that maybe you get sidetracked. So,
Well,
For as often as we draw immense power from rushing headlong into things before anyone has a chance to prepare.
I honestly think we should take a step back, prepare, and go do the incident first before we poke beast
Yeah.
folk quests.
Yeah, what if we had a plan ever?
old idea. Not sure.
Yeah,
about it.
when have we ever had a plan before? It literally looks at all the times that we have had plans.
Often those plans are being written as they are done, or there is a whole lot of thinking about them, and then there's a lot of improvising when the plan goes astray. But that's tabletop games for you.
Yes, I've also improv.
Or we have plans, and some benign, mystical savior of the world and possibly region decides to go with a different plan slightly. Some hero.
Who is that mysterious masked man?
Someone has to save the children.
Someone.
No, I won't do it.
He's not gonna do it.
Old man can only
Gotta be
increase the
someone.
danger of children.
Exactly.
Oh, he'll do it if we tell him we need him to do it.
This problem was only made worse by the addition of more children.
I say this a lot.
Finally, we've unmasked Yakuman. Who's behind this? An individual I do not recognize.
Well, the segue that proposed would
Yeah.
put forth in character in order to bring the subject
Over.
vaguely in that direction would be reminding Angler that about the adoption.
The cats.
That offer remained, and Angler had his reservations about it, and
Mhm.
just revisit that.
I don't know if Chrome stepped away for a moment. Sure.
Hey, I'm muted.
Oh, oops.
No, that's my fault. I was saying stuff and just wasn't getting through. Sure, if you want to have that conversation now, but the people who are doing the adoption are a little ways away. We should probably go talk to them and let them decide. I've seen enough of what you're talking about in the past few days that I believe it'd be worth some venture.
And the more urgent of my business in the valley is resolved for the time being.
Besides, the two we just left are going to be in that area in the next day or two, and there's a conversation that they need to have, or at least my children need to have, with that giant, beautiful beast of theirs.
The prefecture is on the way.
So,
Let's be underway. Whoosh.
whoosh, on the cloud.
Away!
Yeah, probably just you would be able to get to the Orchid Prefecture by nightfall. Do you want to do this as in-character conversations, or just kind of move it along until we get to the monastery kind of situation?
This is this weird nebulous region of I'm not sure if I have any real say in what the kids are going to want to do. I'm guessing they're going to be super on board, but
The
I have no
proposal
particular
from
thing.
Repose is that the kids not be informed, and that for the kids this is a surprise. He's entirely consulting the three parents on the subject of whether
Granted,
you as a
Cascade
household
and
are
Angler.
interested in this.
yeah, Angler's okay with it. It's up to Cass and Sunrise.
This is a diplomatic gesture from one organization to another. Repose is an ambassador of his monastery.
Cass would recognize it as that very quickly. Granted, would be just kind of like shrug. And when you describe it as like Cats as bodyguards, would be extremely on board. Cass would be also more on board after that as well. But just as the idea of the cats as a diplomatic gesture, yeah, sure. And then also cats for the kids, and cats smart enough to do cat things, but also not necessarily get into too much trouble, or get into the manageable kind of cat trouble. Yeah, that'd be on board. They'd be interested in
They will be what you will make of them.
and Cass would be asking, so would you be allowing us to visit the monastery as part of this process, or is that a private institution?
The idea was brought up that how this will work is they hand over some article from each intended recipient, and he brings them over, sees who is interested, brings back whoever accepts them.
Yeah. So probably a hair ribbon from each of the twins. Cass would probably hand over one of her pieces of jewelry or ring, and Granite would give a sash from each.
And as far as visiting, at this time, firm decline.
He gives a nod at that. That business concluded.
When you and your household have had time to become established and become known for your deeds, it may at some future date become permissible, but that is within the authority of my superiors.
Understandable. That's why I asked.
Your husband can act as liaison if that is necessary. Such are the privileges of a hearth.
He gives a nod at that, of course.
Sorry,
By the
who's
way,
giving the nod? Who's giving the nod to that one?
Cass.
Okay, gotcha.
Cass does give a look at Angler, and do give our regards to them if you see them in person anytime soon, just as a friendly introduction.
Of course.
And otherwise, scene with twins and Duchess can probably be roleplayed out later, when you have the private conversation with Sun and Guan and Sybil. But for now, we can move on to the monastery.
I would also note as just a plot beat, not necessarily needing a scene, Propose would have just a follow-up passing encounter with Sharin.
Yeah. So far over the past 2 days, she's been adjusting pretty well. There's been a lot of new stuff to adjust to, so there has been some easing in of the process, but it seems that Flowing River has been quite understanding of that and it's been helping ease in on the subjects of the local area and the region, and has primarily been focused on getting her comfortable and accommodated in the local environment before anything else.
And yes, he will put forth in brief conversation that essentially this is the norm. That it is part of his responsibilities to be out there chasing shadows, and he only infrequently comes indoors.
Yeah.
And that when the time arrives that they've successfully cornered something of importance, he will, raise the alarm and everyone able can come out for the throwdown.
Mm-hmm.
And that until then, what's important is that she be situated and ready and spend her time acting to the best of her ability to pursue appropriate expression of her nature, string things out long enough, but just, hey, relax. Have fun, be you. Essentially, the same point brought up with Cass of do things to build a reputation, and it will be easier
Yeah.
to meet with you officially and discuss with things.
Get leverage and it will have a better pretext, yeah. Alright. So from there, and all those catch-ups and things like that, we can have the cloud pop off and probably just actually double check the scope because it's been a while since we've done that travel between. Yeah, it is about a day and a half ish, maybe like a day travel on cloud to the monastery. So you would actually be getting there the day before. So you would be kind of scooting in, you would be appropriately early. So I will switch map. It is about probably 11 in the morning, getting close to noon by the time you land in the gates of the monastery with the whole crew, unloading out of the clouds, horse included, Moat popping down off of Raposa's shoulder at the sight of Chief resting at the cenotaph in the center of the main garden. Chief just kind of opens one eye very surly, sees the hearth, and has the expression of,
I'm sending this over to Pet Chief.
How do you pet Chief?
Like a cat.
More detail.
Walk over. Slowly. Hand moves forward. Goes
Hand
to give
over
it.
or hand under. This is important.
Yes, hand over, under where on the cat is being pet.
Head.
And back of hand or palm of hand.
Back.
Chief's ears lay flat, but Chief accepts this. Chief already bit you once, and you didn't even flinch, so whatever.
Good cat.
I will accept affection from you very surely because I know that if I actually lash out at you, I will impact my image negatively by you not having anything happen, so.
After standing at safe distance for some amount of time, being calm and serene, Repose abruptly slides into range, draws from inventory, wrapped in damp cloth, fresh, possibly still barely alive fish.
There's an immediate popping out of claws of all paws as Repose slides into peripheral vision very quickly until they immediately snap back in and the eyes dilate at the smell of the fish.
And Repose will, with a bit of bit of an oddly theatrical for him flourish. Unwrap fish, hold fish out, flat. Press it forward towards Chief.
Bounce, hang off fish, start chewing before you even drop it.
And then negotiate from that into getting a grip on Chief and actually just briefly bringing him in to close range, just kind of look him in the eye and speak directly into his ear. But just very quietly in Old Realm. Happy 16th, little brother. And as Chief is beginning to react to that, just let him go and spring back.
There is just a very deep, surly, just nah noise before going back to chew on the fish.
Back to fighting distance.
It is, your gift has been accepted. Don't push your luck.
Yes, the very important occasion around this time of the month of Chief's birthday. A good little brother.
Moat kind of walks over to the side of Repose, not getting near the fish, respecting the distance, respecting. There is a yowl from Chief just as soon as Moat walks up, but Moat just kind of sits back on the haunches and just kind of gives a slow blink over to Chief, who just kind of gives a hissing spit and goes back to the fish before Moat head bumps Repose on the leg.
Suppose we'll lower down a hand, allow Moat to
Hop on up.
hop on up, get a taste of residual fish essence.
Yeah, there is a considerable amount of licking and pulling your hand, and just like, nope. Fine. In the meantime, the staff and the the clergy and the lay people of the monastery are going about their business. Several give formal bows and greetings to Repose that are a little more ornate than usual for the rest of the group.
And as Repose goes by each of them, he is making sure to respond to them by name. And there is more of an exchange of small talk and pleasantries as he goes by. But otherwise, yep, we're here, and he will be cruising on over to his house.
Just go on into the residence, which is, when you open it up, there is a small, just a small exodus of cats from the inside of it, just kind of like, oh, okay. And then, as usual, it is absolutely stuffed with cats along the rafters, along everywhere, as Moat is coming in, kind of head bumping a couple of the cats, and it's just the territoriality of most of the cats, where they have their own colonies and their preferred cats that they hang around, and Moat just seems to be friends with everyone. All of the cats, aside from Chief, just reflexively just seem to either tolerate Moat's presence or actively be like, oh, hey, it's you! So, Moat goes to
Moat has
his
been out adventuring. He has many interesting smells to share.
very interesting smells and stories of doom. And just kind of immediately hops up to his favorite spot in the top rafters as other cats follow up behind and kind of crouch down, having tails flick, poking each other with their noses. Just kind of communicating, goddamn.
Communicating.
Yeah.
Anon.
Yes.
Yes. Rituals.
It is a
Repose will set down a pretty firmly locked and secured container with the adoption articles in it.
Mhm.
Just have it secured somewhere where everyone can be aware of it.
Cats all kind of give it a look, but are like, well, okay.
That's phase one. Just get them used to it being there.
Is the rest of the hearth up to anything in particular on the rest of the grounds while this is going on, or following pose or anything like that?
Just fall and repose.
I'd follow repose.
Furiously thinking about which fucking mountain this is. All the times for my memory to betray me. Betrays me a lot, but this particular time, it's targeted, it's spiteful.
Stalwart daughter kind of wraps her neck around your shoulders sympathetically.
Of course, you'd understand. The
A
bone
horse
must
that
have
has
to
learned
stick
to
with each
hug.
other.
Angler's going
Wrap
to take a moment to
arm
wrap
around-
up his gauntlets before we meet Azar, but otherwise nothing.
Wrap around, right arm over and over again around horse's like thick neck.
Giving a squeeze and a pat.
Two boneless individuals connecting.
Hypermobile icons.
Milan gives a distant nod.
Meet friends.
And also, while everything is going on here, Repose's cabin, the cats that have come out of the cabin are just kind of going by the group, just kind of giving head bonks or meows or inspecting, walking around Chief, very around Chief, especially seeing the fish. One of them kind of approaches to sniff the fish and gets clawed across the entire face and runs away back towards the rest of the complex. And a couple of cats actually approach Stalwart daughter, like, what in the absolute hell is that? As Stalwart daughter unweaves neck, leans all the way down, just kind of collapsing legs, and the cats all just kind of turn into giant fur puffs of just like, bah!
Oh, it's that thing that freaked out Chief months ago.
Like they're not like hissing
good
or
horse.
like run. Like a couple of them are hissing, but they're not swiping or running away. They're just like in full, complete arched back, walking sideways, poofed out fur of just whoa.
I remember what Stalwart daughter did to Chief.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yep. Twisted her neck upside down and caused Chief to fall over.
Stalwart daughter deliberately freaked out Chief by showing off weird joints, and Chief just like blah! Yeah. In this instance, Stalwart daughter is less provoking the cats and more just trying to gently approach, like, hello, small furry friends, and they're just slowly realizing that this strange wild creature is not going to eat them or attack them, and is being treated reasonably well by the people around it. So maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a very large, fucked up friend. So, meanwhile, back in the cabin, the cats are beginning to pop up on the table and gently sniff the box.
And just, close up, walk away. That will begin to happen. First the curiosity, then the tournament.
Good. It's about this
Someone
point.
will be chosen for adventure.
It's about this time where, as you are leaving, you see the abbess Azar leaving her residence, intending at first to walk towards the pyre to check on it. Apparently, one of the villagers had passed away of old age recently and is getting funerary service, and the fire is going. But when she catches a sight of the hearth walking in, turns and approaches as Moat just kind of gives her an even stare with ears pivoted forward, but very slightly at an angle.
Ma'am.
Obsidian was, I believe. She gives a
Mhm.
nod back.
I don't think I ever got to thank you properly for your assistance during the battle.
It is appreciated, but there is no particular need. I was merely doing my duty as a soldier of creation.
Hmm.
I would never really turned down such an opportunity, frankly. Turns back to Repose. It is good to see you.
Stern nod.
She kind of she's kind of looked up to the sky for a moment before looking back over at Repose and Moat. I was expecting that you'd get here the day of, not the day before. Suppose that you set aside time for this. I appreciate that.
And Repose is completely disarmed by this and relaxes a little.
Shows that you are hewing to family obligations even when your hearth's obligations are in play. And that is an important thing to demonstrate.
By our efforts, we have earned some moments of reprieve, and such time should be treasured in the appropriate manner.
He gives a slight nod at that. A sentiment that is shared by us here, yes. She looks over towards the temple complex and back at the pyre. There's a visible moment of thinking as she is doing so, before looking back at the hearth and then to Repose. So how exactly did your brothers fare on the Isle? And you as well?
As well as they could, as could be asked of them, as sons of their mothers. My own expertise was not terribly needed. It is the one good fortune of the inland orders that they do keep the Isle in good spiritual order.
In their own ways, yes, they do. Of course, in other ways, could be improved. But there is no land that is perfect under the eye of the sun.
Boy, ain't that true.
She looks back towards the pyre. You're not sure if it's because she's just done a funeral, but she seems a little more wistful from the usual.
And we can suppose that, Repose is closing to conversational distance. Moat, it is appropriate for Moat to not feel like he needs to get out of the way, and he is just kind of standing where he wants to be.
She would probably just move beyond. Modus watching, has hopped off of your shoulders and is now watching the interactions on the ground, just kind of flicking eyes back and forth and as tail is swishing. So, she's like, again, kind of glances over at the rest of the hearth, doing a head count. All are present, no overt scars, no long-term bleeding, no. Her eyes settle on Old Man for a moment before just kind of pulling a face, but looking back. Nothing beyond the expected boundaries. Huh?
It's actually gotten more complicated than you think.
Her eyes snap back over, now making direct eye contact. How so?
They can explain. I just get to feel giddy about it.
Her eyes just kind of lazily trace back to repose, now a bit harder. Oh, does he, man?
Oh no.
I have
Old
there
man
is much to be
Chlorophos into a
said.
situation.
Some is the business of the hearth, some is business of my own. Some is
By all means.
business of our family.
By all means, let's discuss.
Well, by first means, I propose we'll reach into inventory and take out the carefully sealed vessel in which he placed the ember. There is a
What is
city on the isle where it is claimed that they have kept the bones of Hesiesh.
Do they now?
I took the opportunity to approach as best I was able and appraise the matter for myself.
And what was your take? What was your belief? Her eyes have not left the ember.
Well, he will then pop the seals and open the container and present the ember.
I see.
Well, such matters were always one where yours is the greater expertise. And probably while doing this, he's also making sure that some of the, mineral swirls of scars that have formed from his burns are visible on him.
Mm. Her eyes trace over them for a moment, but she does not remark upon them. She reaches out and takes the ember and lifts it up. Wool?
Nod.
Apropos. Certainly they had a very intense fire wherever you visited. Without laying my own eyes upon it, I couldn't claim whether or not it would be the bones of the elemental dragon or the bones of the Immaculate, and it was incarnated into. But certainly it was a site sacred to the flame. She glances up. And you did this for me?
For all of us. For all who have fallen before us, and all those who will stand after us.
Of course. I shall see to it that it gets a place of honor within the temple, then. We have precious few relics from the center, so it shall be placed appropriately. She just puts it back in the container, takes the container, and kind of places it aside. She then gives another kind of a more appraising look to Repose. Certainly that you were not only there for religious pilgrimages, of course. Your hearth was there as well. Precisely what did you do aside from make your devotionals?
Parliament.
Turns
So
her head.
Milan steps a bit forward but says nothing.
Turns her head at the statement and Milan walking up.
Yes, I have family back on the Isle, and well, matters there aren't as peaceful as they are out here.
A remarkable understatement on both behalves.
I had to speak up for mine and my family.
Touching. How well did it go?
Well, some agent of heaven saw it fit to send one of their number after gestures at old man, and they missed.
Eyes slowly turning back to repose.
Gotta appreciate how basically every single thing that goes wrong here is never my own fault and always gets pinned on someone else.
Propose will probably
Right.
would quickly spin off in like nice dense priestly technical language his appraisal of the spirit, its era, its circle, its affinities, and so forth.
This seems like rather relative information when a hostile divinity is approaching you, and therefore, by extension, the sect. This is something I should have known.
Milan's going to actually interrupt this.
Mhm.
The man is a blind spot.
Which is the old man.
Say again.
He exists and cannot be perceived.
The old man, for
We
all
have
intents and
already-
purposes, took fate into his own hand.
We have discussed the complexities of his current living arrangement.
There is a slight tremor across the left-hand side of her face as she is processing this.
The spirit made one passing attempt to strike at him and was confounded by circumstance. With a bit of a, it is a rare
Right.
inflection and emotion into Repose's voice of like, got him. Oh, look, a thing from outside of fate foiled all of heaven's plans by just doing anything at all of its own will. Free will strikes again. Got him.
Repose can know Azar well enough to be... Alright. Do I congratulate this thing in front of me as her eyes are on old man? Or do I kill it? Extremely... I have two different heuristics that have very opposite ways of dealing with this, and I am picking one right now.
Can I perform a re-intention?
Go ahead.
I would like to as well.
Go ahead.
Hold up, because I'm going to use charms for this, so I gotta look up my charms. Re-intention's in what? Socialize?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
perception socialized.
Yes.
Milan, you can see the sort of tension in her body you recognize from someone contemplating violence. Angler in particular can recognize that this is someone weighing, okay, this is not, do I want to, this is it worth whatever the alternative is?
Milan's going to silently put himself between her and old man.
Oh, the laughing about old man being in control of his fate still applies even when he is off the grid.
If
Yes.
not more so at this point.
It's
It is-
it's actually way more so.
Yeah,
the
like
case
at first
now.
it was like, what an idiot, nobody's is outside of fate. And then, oh wait, he's
But when it
actually
turns
outside
out
of
he
fate?
actually is. Oh wow.
That's fucking
that's
funny.
even funnier. Yeah.
It's funny,
Two-
but I also... Go on.
I was gonna say
No,
two.
here's the thing. It's funnier now, but also old man gets to join in on the laughing now too, because he's right. He is.
Yes.
This is two auto successes, and also any what's the thing? Intimacies penalize her guile.
Okay.
Good thing I did that. So that's three successes
the
and she has
penalties
penalties.
is what is getting you. right now, very specifically, what is stopping her is not any sort of attachment for your hearth or repose, her nephew. This is a tool. It may be a deeply offensive and unsettling and against the way things should be tool, but it is a tool that is proving useful at them. And thus I will not destroy it. And the tension melts out of her.
I'm curious. I'm going to see if I understand all of this and like innately and intently.
Go ahead.
This is going to be just a raw roll. This is exactly how good are you at just reading this situation? Yeah, pretty good actually.
You actually get exactly what Obsidian got.
Mm-hmm.
On principle, she would love to kill you. Like, for several different reasons. But also realizes mutual enemy right now. Also a useful tool.
For what it's worth, I don't disagree with you exactly. I just wouldn't make it easy.
You can allow yourself to think that. So, she says, turning back to Repose, just abruptly, very just quick jerk back over to Repose. Was there any particular preparations you wanted to make before the day of that I could assist you with?
And Repose will fall back into usual habits. Just, oh, nothing particular. It's not one of the significant numbers. Even it's just downplaying further, and then just
She actually just leans
alongside
in. Like,
this wind carried words to hear of there are more that he has more professional things to be said in private in the tomb.
I see. Well, first of all, we might as well let the head abbess know that you are here, so we can give our proper respects to the grand abbess. Just heads off towards the tomb.
And Repose will just kind of small talk briefly with the rest of you that you can all get settled. If you can find a place to sit in his house, feel free to make that attempt. If not, anyone out in the village will be fine with accommodating you.
Mm.
Boat was able to approach this town in the past, so we've probably just arranged for Boat to be around.
Yeah, Boat is actually like within a decent walking distance at this point.
And off we go.
As they're heading off, Angler is going to turn to Milan. I saw what you did. Next time, let Obsidian and I step in front of the rampaging fire beast.
Obsidian only didn't step because A, she wasn't going to move, and B, he would have been able to move fast enough, probably.
Moat gives a gentle head bump to Milan of just... There is a rather deep stare coming from Milan to Milan from Moat before a very long, slow, drawn-out eye blink.
Yang is going to start awake from almost taking a nap by accident.
There are several cats on Yang's lap.
Whoa! Fuck yeah! Hold on, what time is it?
It's about noon.
Alright, I got shit to do. And I as gently and as lovingly as possible, double akimbo arm, sweep the cats off my lap.
They understandingly hop off, if somewhat reluctantly.
It's time to go do some fucking forestry. Catch y'all in. I don't know. I'll find you when it's time.
Obsidian sits down next to Chief in such a way that probably makes his head level with Chief's and just stares in the same direction as Chief.
There is the warning tone yowl in the back of the throat being held, as most of the fish has been skeletonized at this point, but is not acting on it yet.
One merp of protest.
Like a very long, prolonged single note held out for multiple seconds. It's just
Come on.
Meanwhile, in the tomb, Azar gives a very brief kind of bow of the head and prayer to the main sarcophagus before turning around. If you have serious business and information to attend to, I expect you to tell me immediately, no matter what you need to tell your heart to make them go away. Understood?
Bose gives the kind of just unspoken visual response of like this is probably an argument that has happened
You've
indefinite
had
number of times, so he doesn't feel like he needs to play out the rest. I move at my speed.
Yes.
Kind of look like, all right, yeah, I quit complaining that the rock isn't going fast enough for you.
Mm-hmm.
I move when there's good reason to. And so, like, as tomb doors are settled back into place, while I was inland, I went beneath the foothills which surround the Holy Mountain, and met with a representative of the Earthen Courts.
I do hope that you put on a good presentation on our behalf.
I've made them aware of the struggles of our line.
And were
I
they
was met with
sympathetic?
fair hospitality. As one can easily say, the mountain cares little for who keeps watch above, so long as anyone is there on guard. The realm's troubles, and this is another case where these pauses are on my part for talking. Repose is actually snapping this out pretty quickly as far as reporting on things.
Mhm.
Realm's troubles upset them not particularly more than any other disturbance that comes with the turning of ages.
The dragons of the center have always been irritants upon the wheel, yes.
Near the conclusion of our meeting, the spirit who I met with And Repose, again, there's still
Yeah.
not in character pausing for Repose at this point. He is prepared how he is going to say this heavily enough that he can just
Yeah, this is going
drop
on.
this brick.
Yeah.
There's some amount of meandering built into what he is saying, but it's very minimal, and it's just kind of that's the way that he forms sentences.
Right.
Spirit, and to some extent, it's also that he's being thorough in his phrasing.
Yes.
The Spirit allowed to slip news which she believed we would already be aware of. I was surprised that I was unfamiliar with the statement, and it is one of some concern.
And it would be...
The Emerald Mother is at present absent from the heavens. She has been for some time, and has, at other times, over the turning of ages, come and gone.
There is... an absolutely uncomfortably familiar leaden silence from Azar as her eyes are unmoving from you.
The All-Mother is vexed by something that they called... Was it the Shining Answer or the Golden Answer?
The Shining Answer.
Something that they called the Shining Answer.
And did they give any indication as to what that was?
I would expect that if they knew, she would know. And whatever it is would not hold such sway over our progenitress.
Did this court know where the All-Mother would be if she was not reigning in the heavens or upon her creation itself?
Did Karstaff offer anything on that subject? Well,
I actually
consoling.
don't recall off the top of my head. But the insinuation would be there's not many other places he could go. Either you would just she would either be disappearing and walking the land or went outside.
I do not
Azar's
know. They do not know. She did not explain herself before vacating, and does not explain herself upon returning, as is her way.
Azar's breathing is very structured, very exacting tempos of in 5, hold 5, out 5.
Mm-hmm. Propose is right there with her.
And you trust this representative of the court to have told you the truth and not a lie clad as a mistake.
If it is revealed that she has spoken slander against our mother, then I will burrow to the center and bite out her throat. I was just getting out in front of that. Yeah, I also consider that any given seemingly important statement that comes my way could be a clever ruse. And I will rip and tear deceivers where they appear.
There is just almost all of Azar's current, like, mentality and posture is going into not having just a rage eruption. So she has actually slowed down to about Repose's speed. Should this be the case, and should it have been the case historically, there is little we can do to have addressed it, or continue to address it, beyond adjusting our discussions of theology and philosophy accordingly. This feels like a topic that I shall need to personally reflect upon in isolation. And should it sit upon its perch after I have done so, I shall inform those who came before of this information and see what, if anything, they would adjust of the practical operations on this side of creation with this mindset in mind. As on their end of things, the All-Mother's absence, I presume, would not alter much about the function of the below. What it would alter is the underpinnings of what keep them tethered and what keep us moving forward. And that is a discussion that we will have to have at length with sober minds and calm hearts.
I'm shocked she didn't kick the table.
I have thought as much myself.
Of course, you have. There would be no other conclusion to come to. In the meantime, we shall proceed as we have with our usual affair, the usual marking of the turning of the seasons. After all, if the All-Mother is not present and the cycles of creation perpetuate themselves, then at least some part of her or her design is still present and functioning, and that in itself is something to be respected and kept in mind.
The dragons are with us, and we are with mankind. as it has been since the beginning. And I have thought as well, isn't it just so then that the orders of the center are so hesitant to speak of her higher names, that those of us who most nearly hold the ear of heaven adopt such an attitude is such a fair, and like, so like,
Yeah.
popping out of specific dialogue, Repose has some lines of thought to lay down. Okay, one, yeah, so if any organized religion would be able to give reliable news about what's happening in Yushan, it's the main Immaculate Temple
It's the
in the
Immaculates,
Empire. They are the ones who most closely
No
deal
shit.
with the heavens.
Mhm.
And so they get the news, especially more so than the two of us get out here in the sticks.
Mhm.
And that it is an appropriately imperial and heavenly way to deal with a problem that is beyond your control, to just act like it isn't there and wait for it to resolve itself.
There is a heat shimmer coming up from Azar at this point, as she is clearly losing her ability to keep a total lid on things.
From that segue into, and what else did they ignore? Who else did they ignore? What vast, festering wound, what immeasurable well of regret and remorse could be
Underneath
so
the Imperial
potent
Mountain.
that it would draw the attention of the entire world?
You have your things to unpack before tomorrow, and you need to ensure that your hearth is properly accommodated and informed. Go do that.
Can I propose a smash cut back to the hearth?
I have a thing.
Does Repose have an idea?
Go ahead. I think we've
Yeah.
conveyed everything that needs to happen here, especially since this is a plot thread that I feel like just kind of goes into the epilogue.
I have
That
a-
is extremely
This is very out of scope for stuff that's going to happen in the campaign, but it is
I have
interaction that is happening
an
here.
incredibly stupid one-liner to present to
Oh,
you.
go for it. Go for it.
So, what if we just file a bureaucratic complaint to Yushan about purple?
Eh.
Do you really think that'll work?
I don't know.
Who do we file it to?
I mean, they've got to have like. Does Yushan have a local office in creation? I don't
Hey,
know.
Moat, does Yushan have a local office in creation?
Religions, all kinds.
Yeah, that is the look you are getting from the cat. Is
Yes, correct.
just the tail is swishing like in a literal circle around Moat of where the fuck.
Wait, how do we contact the gods? He says, as if there's a temple right behind him.
No, that's
Literally-
the whole joke. That's the thing where
Oh,
Angler
I've
eventually
made it,
looks
yeah.
around and looks at the cat with the like, yeah, you know I'm fucking with you.
While they're having this
There
conversation,
is a swipe.
Yang,
There is a swipe at his like
While having this conversation, Yang walks out of the fucking temple and then starts walking towards the foreground.
All right.
Have you guys seen my farming hat?
Did you leave it up with all the cats?
No. It would have been out here. I don't put it.
Perhaps it's in your baggage. Also, if the cat took a swing at my leg, it would hit the metal boots, so good luck with that.
All right, thanks. Anyways, I'm gonna go out on the woods for an indeterminate period of time. Bye.
Have fun.
Mo just kind of turns back to look at Milan with a just half-lidded, judgmental cat look.
Are there forms I can request from the abbess?
That was not a yes sounding one. That was a. You have never heard a cat visibly hear like a human like.
That was you dipshit.
It's your funeral.
Yeah, no, it was not dipshit. That is, if you want to touch that stove, my man.
You can certainly try. Milan, perhaps you should just make the offer directly to them via the points to giant building we're standing right next to. Cut out the middleman. Make the request yourself.
All right. Let me think this through of what I need to file a complaint.
Hey there, gods. It's me, your boy, Beneath Milan.
You know me. You love me?
Hey, Moat. Repose was very taciturn about how important the event is tomorrow. How much does it mean to him?
Head bump against your leg.
Is there anything you could show us or lead us to that Repose would really appreciate if we did for him?
One thump of a tail. Second thump.
In fact, should I grab obsidian to make this a little bit easier for whatever we can do to help?
Moat seems to actually be in thought on this one.
Fair enough.
Obsidian is sitting next to Chief. You can approach Obsidian at your own risk.
Chief
Save
has just kind of
obsidian.
squished himself into the back of the recess that he's sitting in, just kind of ears flattened to the back of the head, just scowling at Obsidian.
Obsidian offers Chief a piece of jerky.
Bite.
Have there been any
Meat or the
sightings-
jerky?
Both.
Have there been any sightings of the other angry tube of a cat? Who was offered up to be understudy to Chief.
Not right now. It probably would be in either at Alzar's house or the temple.
Spicy child remains at large.
But Moat,
Okay.
meh, kind of very gently bites Angler's pant leg and tugs before trotting out of the resident's house.
I will follow Moat.
Would Milan?
Milan is going to prepare papers to make an offering, a plea, filing of formal complaint requests to some god, to a god.
Milan, before you actually make that file, make sure you come get me beforehand. I want to be there when you do it.
Sure thing.
But like,
Hey,
to
also,
pitch an idea.
Okay, so if I go too far up the chain, I won't get anywhere. So I'm probably going to need to start somewhere much lower, probably lower management. What's a notable feature around this area?
Might I recommend Swarm of Swift Convenience? They deliver locusts.
That's a really good idea. It's a really good idea. I should send a letter through the locusts.
Smiling, nodding. That's canon now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome
Always
back,
has
Swarm of
been.
Swift Convenience. It's been like 10 years.
All right, Milan is going to be filling out bureaucratic papers while people are going, so I'm just going to make a check while scenes are happening.
Okay. Moat, meanwhile, kind of trots over to Obsidian. Chief gives a side eye to Moat, and then Moat just kind of gives a chirp over to Obsidian.
Yeah.
Kind of a
Moat
turn of the
wants us
head.
to follow him, so come along.
Okay. See you later, Chief.
Scuttles out immediately, just moving away towards the watchtower.
I have a continuation of the scene.
Go on.
Yang is just walking further and further outside the temple into the forest. He finds a clearing, tears a reef of mold off of a tree, puts some weed on it, rolls up a joint, smokes it. Yeah, it's getting a little unruly. And then walks off in a direction to go tend to the woods. It's been 2 months.
Stamina resistance for smoking a random tree mold?
What even is my stamina? It's 4?
You're tough. You're
Do I
much
get
tougher
do
than
I
you
get
think
a
you
do
are.
I get a stunt dice for making a
Yeah,
flame?
you get a stunt die for that.
Well, moss, not mold. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Where's the forest sick? Where does I need to do tending to?
Something feels weird down south.
Well, I'm just gonna start walking down there, and then when the vibes are off, they're off, and I'll shuffle around. And then we smash cut back to something else completely different.
Back at the
Okay, Milan has one roll, and then we can do Moat Scene.
Okay.
I would like to use finding the water step to figure out what is a suitable offering to Swarm of Swift Convenience.
Okay.
Grass, corn.
Oh, yeah.
Bombs.
What is
What does a locust eat?
Look? I have to be sure about this. Because
Pick
if I
Green,
some
green,
grass.
green,
Don't believe.
green,
if I
green.
provide the wrong piece of corn, I could anger Swarm of Swift Convenience. And I
Milan
don't
needs to
want
like
that.
stop and take out an almanac and look up what locusts are.
I'm a bureaucrat, not a farmer.
What is a locust? We don't have those on the Isle.
Okay, you
Listen,
may
I
you
got
may do
me a
Moat
big
Scene.
old shipment here of fresh locusts. Where do you want me to put them? Eh? I ain't gonna leave it here. I ain't keeping them in my truck. You gotta take them.
Can't stay in the truck. They can't go back to the warehouse.
God, is this an old NPC of your two? Oh,
Might be.
I don't think Swarm ever actually showed up. Swarm was just an idea as an example of kinds of gods that can exist.
Yes.
Okay, Milan is going to run out
this is
into the
extremely
forest
canon, anyway.
after Yang.
Of gods are civil servants who
Good-
need to
good
administer
fucking
things,
luck.
and some of those things are plagues.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm probably doing weird, like, wild child wood aspect bullshit.
I'm just
like,
shouting, Yang, I need grass.
it's too late.
You are standing in grass, you idiot.
No good grass.
Stalwart daughter actually walks up next to you, stretches her neck all the way down, takes a single bite of grass, and then moves her head over and plops it into your hand.
That's
Young Milan,
brilliant.
your horse is sassing you now. Your horse is sassing you.
Milan is in a mood.
Meanwhile, Moat is going into the residential complexes and is kind of trotting with intent, looking around for something.
I'll make a perception awareness check to see if I can figure out what Moat's looking for.
Go ahead.
Sure, I'll use extra stuff for this for 2 extra successes. 6 successes. Oh, I get to re-roll that 6.
Moat is scanning the names on the doors. Moat is looking for specific people. And the seems from the way that it's laid out that it's not a random assignment. It seems to be like cohorts of when people joined.
Oh, is Moat perhaps looking for the time when Repose showed up?
Yeah. Like as you were saying, that Moat actually stops and looks over to Angler at the like a stretch of them, and you don't have any connection to these names, but Moat is looking at them fairly intently before looking back at you.
Moat
What's the
can't
note?
read. Moat knows that the tall shapes mean things.
Yes.
Moat lives with someone who writes a lot.
Moat is also aware of where people would live and has associated shape with people, even if the words are meaningless.
Okay, what do the words say?
It's the names of a couple of people. And give me a read intentions on Moat.
Can we get someone to approve a link for one thing in chat?
Oh, yeah, 1 sec.
You know what? I'll willpower that to 5. That's right, I'm using willpower to read the intentions of a cat. Exalted.
Moat is suddenly holding himself in a very odd bodily posture that for a second you need to figure out what is going. He's holding himself like a kitten. These would be the people that Repose grew up with.
What are the names?
I don't have them on hand right now. I would have to
Fair,
actually.
but
get
I'd at least like memorize or look at the names and look down Moat. So these are the people Repose grew up with when he was tiny.
Huh.
Do they live nearby here?
There is kind of a flick of the tail at the doors themselves, but then Moat visibly is like closing eyes and thinking with entire capacity of brain.
Long sigh from Obsidian, thinking about the way this family is. Just to get this one off the table, Moat, are they still alive?
Huh? Still, yeah.
Okay.
Most.
Wanted to make sure.
And can Moat string together the abstract thoughts to do this? Let's color code this. Just barely. Moat is able to kind of go out and find a section of the building that is already, well, has not recently been repaired from cat activity, so there are already scratches and stuff. Moat is conscientious of don't ruin something that's already been fixed rightly. That's being, but well, of course, cats love to be rude, but there's being rude, and then there's being rude when you're the boss's son, the boss's nephew's apprentice. But Moat goes over to one section and pops out all of the claws on one hand and very, very lightly scores a couple of different lines on the ground before running around back and forth looking like he's playing something. Draws a long dividing line next to that, and then a single scratch before sitting on top of it, sitting at attention.
Muted again. Sorry. Can you repeat that again, please? I'm feeling really especially stupid tonight.
That's alright. Basically, Moat put down a set of scratch marks on the ground like tallies, and then ran around on top of it like play, and then put a line next to it, like a big kind of like divider line. And then on the other side, put a single tally mark, and then sat up at very strict attention next to that tally.
All right,
And then is looking at the doors.
let me try one here.
Mm.
And just checking with Moat, it's one meow for yes, correct?
Eh.
Got it. I realized how stupid that question it was literally as I was saying it.
No, continue, please. It's great.
Are you trying to say that Repose grew up with these people, but then when he exalted, he was more or less in a different group than them?
Eh.
There you go.
There's a headbutt on both of your legs, and then a look back to the doors.
He exalted and then had to have more or less a different life.
Yeah. So, grew up with different expectations, but it doesn't mean that old friends can't be a welcome sight.
Meh.
Are they home right now, Moat?
Meh, meh.
Okay.
Somehow that you got that noise like the same exact noise. It just makes it sound like you're hitting a button.
Do you know what they look
I'm
like,
making
Moat?
all this with my mouth.
I
Go on.
know.
The question was, do you know what they look like, Moat?
No.
Okay, then let's go take a look around and see if we can find them. Or would you rather just wait for them to come back?
No.
Okay, we'll do that.
And that would mostly be the wrap up for this. The next major scene I would have with this is absolutely going to go long and also have some relevant bits. Like, it would be pushing past midnight to wrap it all up. Because I do have plans for the birthday incident.
Right, as far as like trailing wrap-up notes for the private meeting here, Repose, for once, will not back down from Azar being mad because he is also mad and wants to share in this anger.
You're getting the feeling that it is less do not share in my anger, or if you share in my anger, you are going to end up being a target. Just directly. This is if you want to try to be angry with me, it is going to turn into a fight between the two of us as a way of her processing it.
Good.
All right.
How
So,
much
yeah.
health will it cost to
Roll me just roll me your withering attack pool.
Roll to angry.
just lean in with full dex on, with a full excellency on that?
You actually fight each other to a perfect standstill. You are never able to land a dangerous blow on each other because you are so both wildly fighting into the anger that you're simultaneously both so open that the hits would be free, if not for the fact that the moment you would try to capitalize on each other's openings, you would get also smacked in the face. So it
Perfectly
is just,
symmetrical violence.
yeah, perfectly symmetrical violence of, like, every time both of you are just going to clock each other, it's hit with a parry, which is less a parry and more a simultaneous attempt to clock you. And so there is actually no lasting damage beyond utter exhaustion and some bruising. Now, aura-wise, it is good that you did this in the Great Tomb, because, boy, it is certainly would have torn the shit up out of the outside. It's like probably a solid, 10-minute slugfest until both of you
There's
are
an
too out of breath to
appropriately
keep...
sized angry dome that is part of the tomb.
Yeah, this is probably, the fight only stops because you're both too out of breath to keep swinging, and you just realize, okay, fine. And after that is concluded, she basically wordlessly kind of just straightens herself out and goes back to her usual observations in the temple and just kind of ignores you, stonewalls you entirely.
Yep, and that's the full reset. That's all that needed to be communicated with the fist.
Okay. Darren, let's resolve Milan's Fey mood.
Right. Roll me a 2-die stunt.
Well, first of all, I desire...
Right. The intimacy is the strongest intimacy he would have towards grass is crunch.
Good. Perfect. Okay.
But roll me manipulation bureaucracy with a 2-die stunt.
All right. I will also be spending...
Actually, no. You don't know the bureaucracy of you, Sean. You're going purely off linguistics to craft your argument.
Yes. That is correct.
So it is manipulation linguistics.
Manipulation linguistics? Okay. Looking to see if I have anything. All right. In the central complex, I arrange the array of grass I presented, and I begin. Okay, I've seen this done before of making entreaty to a god, so I'm just going to go through the motions, and I don't have dialogue for this. Just make an offering to a swarm of swift convenience. And after I go through the introductions of the offering, stand up, straighten up, and start vocally filing a complaint to... I would know what planets associated with purple, right?
That would be Saturn, yes.
To
the Division of Endings.
To the Division of Endings regarding their agent operating in the 100 Kingdoms, of taking matters too personally to them and not acting in a professional, respectable manner. Calling out the hey dick move of, yeah, we messed up your stuff accidentally, but you swung at us deliberately. I've written a letter to them. Now I'm writing a letter to their boss.
All right.
Why are you like this?
Now to see if it actually reaches there via the Locust God.
So I have a question.
Oh yeah, Angler wanted to be there, so Angler's. Is
No,
there.
this is a serious question. Did you remember to get Angler for this? If not, it's
Yes.
fine. Okay.
Yes.
Because he's fully expecting some sort of response immediately that might be lethal.
Nothing seems to happen when you you don't hear any voice in your head. You don't have any immediate lightning bolt hit you. You don't have any sort of manifestation. It is just kind of a feeling of, well, you filed the note.
I have filed a note to.
You are very confident that it got delivered, probably to where you were sending it. Now, what happens next?
And in approximately 1 century, it should arrive in the correct desk. My work here is done. Wipes hands on robes, exits the central complex. I had the player fully expect that to never reach the proper desk in time for anything reasonable to happen. I'm aware of how heaven operates as a bureaucracy.
Oh no, you're right, but also this is too entertaining for me to not think about what I can do with this.
I also love giving bullets to the GM.
Yes, you are one of my favorite sources of just handing me entire magazines of ammunition. Yes,
I will take every opportunity to just give the GM stuff to play with.
yes, give me more options. Yang is also extremely good at giving me options and almost perfect counterbalance to just knocking the shit over that I've been building up. It's great. I love all this group. But
He
yeah,
knocks things down and then replaces them.
Next time, birthday. It's a little guy. It's his birthday. Like, literally this time, though.
It's not a big deal.
It's not important, though. If you're busy, that's fine. It's fine.
It's not an important number.
It's fine.
One last thing that I want to mention before we go off air is, I've mentioned it before on a session ago, months ago at this point, on the last time. Friend of the show, Million Sandwiches, did his charity event marathon stuff. He'll be doing another one on Sunday, the 16th, to support Trans Lifeline. He's going to be marathoning all 3 of the classical Donkey Kong Country games, and I just figured that I'd plug him as a good friend who does good things for good causes.
Good.
When do they start? At what time on Sunday?
Let me double check. I believe it's 10 a.m. Central. I gotta pull up the schedule myself. Yeah, 10 a.m. Central, Sunday, May 16th. 12-hour marathon.
DK does say trans rights. That's canon.
Yes. So, for those watching live, we'll see you all there. For those who didn't watch live, you can catch the VOD, maybe throw something else that way in solidarity. Otherwise, we'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good week.
Next time.